Welcome everyone to the Painted Bride Art Center series, Deep Roots, Bold Future, based on the bride's legacy and what we're looking forward to someday when we come out of this time. So tonight we have with us Vashti Dubois, who is the founder and director of the Colored Girls Museum, and Blue Kind, who is I'm going to call you the founder because it's more than a coffee shop, of Franny Lou's Porch. So I'm going to turn it over to Blue. This is an unscripted conversation, and we're just going to jump in and ask questions in the chat if you would like.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Laurel. Thank you so much, Painted Bride, for bringing us all together. It's definitely a very beautiful experience to talk and share. But yeah, so I mean, with me, my phone just started ringing, right? Right when I
I turned mine off.
Right when yep, that's what yeah. So yes, we talked earlier. We were just trying to touch base on this, and with our businesses of being like place of connection and community, and how are we kind of creating that still, amid a time where we have to be splintered, especially like ordained by the government, and how do we, especially as Black women, and which I think is very more spiritually connected to community and like the need for community. How do we engage, and how do we still be effective? So that's what I remember us bringing up. We just touched in to see like what should we be talking about, and I know with Franny's, it's like we opened a window. We had these two double doors, and look, everyone's calling me, and we just said no more people inside. People just weren't coming in. So we're like, okay, people don't feel safe coming inside, which is hard for me to say, because we really establish a place of comfort and rest, and a place where people can really connect and be human. So we're like, well, you know what? This mission is still needed especially now. So we open up this window, and then we just meet people, from that distance. And we also opened up a garden, and one of our neighbors has been tending to it and beautifying the space. And we invested in some money also into the space to make it more like conducive and professional, because it was very raw. And yeah, it's just been a beautiful journey to still be open. I think we've only closed 3 or 4 days, one for a retreat for our staff, because we've been on, since day one, and also during the protest, and we needed to kind of take some time and reestablish some boundaries. But yeah, and it's just been really beautiful. I mean, right when we were opening, even people would come and just cry. They just come and cry because they haven't been talking to anybody in person, and how beautiful it is to still have that person-to-person connection, even if it's just like, hey, how you doing, sweet thing? How's your day? Like, that is such a intrinsic part of our connection. Okay, honey, I'll be right there. I'll be right there. But yeah, so that's where I think I'm just starting to unravel. I have children around too, by the way. But go ahead, go to the bathroom. Go ahead.
No, I want to.
But I'm gonna pass it to you, Vashti, because I'm gonna just talk to her real fast.
All right, go ahead. So, yeah, that's we were talking about like what is it like to be in this time, to be a space like the Colored Girls Museum, where our intention is to be a space of sanctuary, um, to be the 21st century Underground Railroad, to be sacred space, and to not be able to be available at a time like this when it feels vital to have a space that, under different circumstances, in exactly a time like this, we would be opening our doors and welcoming people in, because we understand just how for Black folks, this is so hard. This is so hard. And in some ways, not even, having the space to consider how hard it really is. I often say, before I could fully hold this idea of the pandemic, my life was already full of the complexities that come with being Black and female in this world. And so, as big as the pandemic was coming through the door, it took me a minute to realize how big the thing coming through the door actually was. Because I'm accustomed, as a Black woman, to just like lining things up, line it up, check it off, deal with it, line it up, check it up, and check it off, deal with it. And, I was trying to check off the pandemic and it just didn't work. And so when I really put my full attention on what was happening and its particular impact on Black folks, I said to my partners, what are we going to do? Because I knew, as soon as I understood, I knew that before they gave us numbers, before they said this virus is impacting the Black community, it's devastating the Black community. I knew that it was, because whenever they don't tell you what's going on, you kind of know it's Black folks. Whenever there isn't a fast movement to address the thing, you kind of know, oh yeah, these are going to be, the folks who are being impacted are going to be people who are considered dispensable. So from this place, from the Colored Girls Museum, I wore myself out trying to think about what it was that we could do right now as a space that opens in the way that we do, not being able to provide the essential service that we provide. Like, how do we do that? And it took 3 months before I was able to even pen a response or a thought about it. And that response and that thought was really around this idea of staying on the porch, which was both a specific sort of call and instruction, and also something, something a little deeper than that, a little, Black women are always on the front line, always taken to the streets immediately. And what came to me was this needed to be a time when perhaps we would not do that. Perhaps we would consider staying on the porch. I would consider staying on the porch just for a minute.
And how is that? You were saying that you're getting folks to take.
We lost audio.
Oh, having people document themselves on their porch. Are you compiling things? What do you remember? I remember you telling me about the whole project. It sounded so cool.
Yeah. So it's the project, which is for a time like this. I have often said, Black women, and I'll just speak for myself, we might have a God complex. We'll say to the universe, listen, I don't have an answer. Could you help me out with this thing right here that I have? And we'll put the thing there. And if God doesn't respond instantly, we're like, okay, you're busy. Let me take that off your hands. So as I was asking the universe, like, what can we do? Like, what should we be doing at a time like this? I got nothing for a long time. I was really annoyed about that. And finally, what I got as an instruction was really the work of the museum. It is exactly how the museum performs when we're open. And the instruction was, you know, move this exhibit online. Ask ordinary colored girls who number the amount of books that Toni Morrison has written, ask them to curate a room online as though they were curating a room in this museum. Ask them to submit an object, a photo of an object that is significant to them, that has been significant to them for a time like this, and record it. So a short bio, describe that object, and say how it has been significant at a time like this, and share that on the Instagram page in the room that will be named after the book that each of these ordinary colored girls are curating. And I was really annoyed by that, by that idea. I was like, Coach, I could do something else. Like, give me something bigger. Give me something bigger. And so I left it for a while. And then I came back and it was still there, not a better idea. And so eventually, I figured out that I would just have to try it and see what the thing was. And so I actually curated the first room, which is Toni Morrison's book, God Help the Child. And I asked 12 of my girlfriends to submit images of the objects that had been significant to them for a time like this into my room. And what was really incredible about the process, which I would not have figured out if I hadn't actually done it, was that it gave me an opportunity to actually feel like I was inviting, my sister friends into my room because their objects were coming in with them. And so, in some cases I was surprised by what people submitted, and in some cases I wasn't surprised. But then, so there was the moment of asking, and then, here at the Colored Girls Museum, we say that, curation is a spiritual practice. The work of organizing artifacts and deciding what goes where is a spiritual practice. And here we say, we put the cure back in curation. And so in the process of curating this room online, which I never could have imagined, there was some curing for me for this particular time that we're in, because it called together a gathering of my sister friends in a way that I would not have but for this particular exercise. And now we are into the third room on Instagram, which is being curated by Latrice. So if you haven't checked it out, definitely check it out. The art, the objects are beautiful and the stories are beautiful. And the culmination of this project will be the 2021 catalog, which, all of those will go into a book, which we will have for a time like this. So this is our map. And this is a record of how the ordinary colored girl says she got through what she had in her hands at this time.
I love that.
Thank you.
I love the documenting of the time too, current. Because I remember coming to the museum and seeing the past. I saw some like energies of the present too, and the different cultures. I remember, it's so beautiful. But I love that current, like, this is important. What we're going through and who we are now is as important as who we were then and who we are to be. And so I love that idea of the book. I'm just so excited.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We have to figure out how to bring you into this process. I have to ask you a question because I'm looking at it and it's been in my brain. Blue Kind, an absolutely beautiful name, but you got to tell us, what's your name?
My name. Well, Blue is my chosen name, but I've been going by it for past maybe 12 years now. And I never resonated with my birth name. I don't even say it anymore because people put it in magazines and everything without talking to me. So yeah, I'm like, why? I never said that to you. Why did you do that? So it's a combination of my first and last name, and I put it together. And someone actually just started calling me Blue, and I right when they called it to me, I was like, that's it. And I've been wanting to change my name for a while. Yeah, and in kind, I got married, and 2000 and right when I started talking, my children. Okay, I'll go. I'll check it in. Don't worry about it. Go give them a banana. Go give them a banana. I have babies, and they're great. Um, kind is I chose that as well. So, and that really sat with me about how relationships should be and how togetherness should be. And I think kindness is the underlying element to all of it. No matter if I disagree with you or don't care about you or care about, kindness goes a long way. So that's
I,
my name. And I was just reading, listening to some things about like ancestral lives, which I'm really curious about. And usually they say the name that you really choose in this life is really connected to your past lives. So I really thought that was cool. So I'm like, oh, maybe it's just part of my life.
there it is. There it is. You know, one of the things that we touched on when we were talking was, you know, how sort of how we have to work now, how might it be beginning to sort of transform how we think
Mhm.
about the work that we're doing. Like, how's it going to change for you? How is it going to change the way you do business? Is it going to change? Like, are you going to do that business? Like, I'm just
Right.
really.
It's a choice. Like even like right now, for instance, I'm bringing on two other owners because I've already felt this transition of energy. So when I started my first shop, I was 22 and had a lot of energy and a lot of vigor. Now I have three more children. I'm like, okay, just change of life thing. So I was already on this path of bringing new owners, and I have a business consultant who's really helping us really navigate this time, and we're really going into a lot more production, you know, like all of the things that we're doing is all of the things that we make are local, organic, relational trade and made with love. So everything's very intentional, like fair trade sugars and chocolates. Everything has a story,
Mm,
local flour, local organic butter, and so it's really like getting into the wholesale market, providing more jobs to Black and brown and queer people, being more of our tribe mentality, really caring for our tribe, even if it's not like the whole world, but at least we can really cultivate each other and support each other. And we've also been wanting, and we're going to be starting like profit sharing as well, because we really want to kind of exemplify like an anti-capitalist business in a capitalist society.
uh,
So that's like the internal work that we are doing and that we are given a chance to do. So we just talked about, oh, what if we were to reopen our doors and the state would require everybody who comes in our doors to have a vaccine? Would we want to be that business? And personally, I'm like, nah, I'm sorry. So that's my thing. So, okay, so if the government is putting limitations on us, how are we to move, and how are we to build, if we should build at all? And so we're just really like, let's get production in, let's get our wholesale in, let's really feed the people good, healing beverages and food, continue to talk about healing in our mind, in our spirit, continue to be led by the spirit, led by God. I mean, I think that you really hinted at that because that's what I did too. I just kind of sat there and I was late. I had my babies. It was like 11:30 at night. And I was like, man, like, we had a $88 a day, and I'm used to having at least like a $600 a day. So I'm just sitting here like, wow, people are scared to be here. And I just sat here for a while, and I was like, just looking at everything and mourning, And then I went outside and this breathing and connection, and I looked over and I just saw this window of love. And so I think you're right. I think the goal is to just stay tapped in and connected, and that is above all will direct us, and it'll change. So right now it's just like cultivating the love within our tribe, um, really getting on our social media platforms, all our, online. We got online ordering now. And we're going to get online, like merch and all that stuff to the people, because everybody wants to buy a mug. But I want to make sure it's American made, fair trade, local. Maybe we need to do used mugs and just put our little print on it. But I'm like such an anti, like, I don't buy things from China type of person. So it's like things are going slowly, because I really want our products to be aligned with our mission. So just like really hitting, of course, maneuvering with everything, and being connected to God is the number one. And so I have discernment, and I'm learning what to say, when to say it, not trusting everybody anymore, being very patient and aware, because I do feel like it's there's so much polarization. Even with the election, like I said one thing and people were like, "Oh, you said that, so you must be a lover of Trump." It's like, y'all, hey, I don't identify with politics like that. I don't put my identity into that sphere of like saving grace. I don't. But I do think of love, and I think of togetherness and community. And so my thing is like, how do we stay connected? Everything is trying to polarize us. Everything's trying to take us apart and isolate us, put us in a room. And who knows what's happening with winter? It's coming up. So my thing is like, I really want to keep connected to where God wants us. And I know that wherever I'm meant to be, I'm going to be, whether that means I lose friends, whether that means I am more odd and weird. I'm like, go ahead. I'll be flying high. Be flying high with a shooting star, yo. So I think that's really beautiful that you even, said that, because no one's talking about that. Everything is very physical reality, physical understanding of what things are, media wildness. And so I think the need for us to have that maternal love, that porch energy, the connection, the humanness, as much as whatever I'm doing, that's what I'm going to be. That's whatever sphere, whether it's from my window or from a freaking iPhone or phone, not iPhone, but from a phone or from, across the street. I think that is my goal, you know. It's so wild, it is wild. It's wild.
It is. I suppose, when we finish thrashing around, as it were, trying to make it make sense, trying to plan for a future you cannot imagine, and realizing that you can't imagine it. And so you have a couple of choices. The beautiful thing about not being able to imagine anything is how everything then becomes possible. Like everything becomes possible, because you have complete sort of freedom around your own imagination, how it is that you want to, build whatever it is that you imagine you would like your future to be. What was powerful last night, just thinking, the 19th Amendment, it's just been like, it's an incredible week. I want to know what's happening with the stars and the moons, because it's so much. what I came away from last night with, and I was thinking about it this morning because I did a podcast talking about Alice Dunbar. And one of the questions was, how does the Colored Girls Museum relate to somebody like Alice Dunbar? And my recent thing, and I think I mentioned this to you as well, I, have been struck by the words of Shayla Lawson and continue to find resonance in them, that Black women are from the future. I think about starting the Colored Girls Museum 5 years ago and really having absolutely no idea, none, what this might turn into, absolutely no idea. And I used to joke and say that I felt like, we were, Noah building the ark and people going by pointing and laughing. They're like, those people are crazy. And when I read this quote by Shayla Lawson, because she went on to talk about how so often Black women, and you think about a Frances Harper, you think about a Alice Dunbar, you think about a Shirley Chisholm, you think about a Harriet Tubman. What was Harriet doing? What was she doing? Like, really, you have to stop and ask yourself, it actually had to occur to her that she could do this thing, that she, this lone woman, could spirit all of these folks to a freedom that she did not even know. She did not know it, which means she was making it up as she went along. And so I think about all of that now. I think about your work through the lens of Black women being from the future. And this idea that when we're creating, because we're from the future, we have no idea what the thing we're creating right in this moment is actually going to be for, because it's not for us and it's not for now. It's for some time that we cannot see and that we cannot imagine. And so when I was listening to Kamala Harris and so many other sisters who have spoken during this week, I was really thinking about all of the work that Black women and girls have done to make this moment possible. And this moment is actually not Kamala Harris. It is the army. It is the army. If you look to the left of you and the right of you, it's the army of what Black women have created in the last decade. Like, I don't know if anybody's paying attention, and not even created, like what's sprouting up from the ground, what's been planted, what's been nurtured, and what's moving out into the world. That's the force that would create a moment when we would have the first Black vice president who happens to be a woman. And I think that there's something really powerful afoot in the world. So why wouldn't there be a pandemic? Why wouldn't there be something that was absolutely earth-shaking and life-changing for absolutely everybody? Because Black women and girls have been the least of these for a very long time.
Definitely. I agree with you 100%. That's wild. We're like at Franny Lou's, we're actually named after Frances E.W. Harper and Fannie Lou Hamer. So you said Frances Harper, I was like, no, she's not. And she has this quote, she has this quote I always think of, like, if you stomp on the least of these of your society, you actually curse your own soul. And I think about that, often as I walk around and as I read history or as I envision the future, and to always uplift those that are voiceless, to always uplift and speak out and speak truth and speak wisdom and speak kindness, and speak connection, and how being present, even if you don't actually understand why, that is that gift. And so it's like the practice of being present is like even that meditation practice of really enjoying and being where you need to be right now, knowing that you can't do everything. Like I can get, I was telling you about my Gemini moon, right? I need to eat, I need to do that. I need to solve all the world's problems because I see everything, because I have a Pisces mind and I see all the layers. I can get in it. But I'm just like, no, Blue, where do you need to be? And how can you trust that everyone will be where they ought to be so we can connect? That's that old Martin Luther King quote too. If you are who you ought to be, then I will be who I am to be. We all connect, we all affect each other. So if I am not living into my fullness of who I'm supposed to be at this moment, that affects everyone around me, everyone. And that affects our future. So that's what I've been trying to like speak life into people now, because everyone's like, oh, I had all this trust in the system, or I had all this, I had all these plans, all that. I was like, what do you need to be doing right now? Right now, without, if you had no limitations, if you had no inhibitions, if you had no insecurities, if you could just be who you are right now, like who you want to be, who is it? And that is it. That, And my thing is, if we really tap in and connect, it will be for the good movement. It will be to lift those that are the oppressed. It would lift those to walk in love. It will. Only the disconnected are doing wild, treacherous, evil things. So my thing is, I'm like, y'all just looking for it. Y'all cursing your own soul because like, you know what I'm saying? Like, y'all need to get your foot off someone's neck, maybe. So yeah, I think this is very spiritual work. I think it's good to be in awe, and sit in it and just feel it and resonate with it, because I think that will unfold. That will unfold some more beauty that we're supposed to be, like, we're still here. Lots of people, yes, and lots of people are still here, even though we're isolated, even though, we don't know how close we can get, or, we are here, and that's the thing,
Well, I've been thinking about that too. I mean, I actually have a question for you, but I will say this. I've just sort of been thinking about, so what happens? I read something a couple of years ago, or I heard it somewhere. People were talking about, because of texting, like a couple of, like maybe 50 years from now, people's thumbs will be like some of the biggest things on their hands, because of evolution, right? So I've been thinking about what, so we have to be mindful of how we share space. So that means that the ways that we're used to being able to connect, to feel each other, are different. So I've been wondering for myself, like, what are we learning how to develop so that we can still make a connection? Like, if you can't be in the room, how can you be in the room? What is our capacity to develop some part of what we have that we've not relied on before? How can I feel you if you're not here? So what is that thing that I'm learning how to do? It's not apparent to me yet, but I have to imagine that in this new configuration, we as humans have to develop different kinds of gifts, a different kind of awareness, a different way of being in community. Even this is a very different way of being in community. I was very annoyed by it initially. I hated Zoom, the little Instagram-y thing. But one of the things I'm coming to appreciate, sort of like Stay on the Porch, is this opportunity to speak into each other's backyards and living rooms and offices, and a different kind of intimacy, I think. So I wanted to say that, but I have a question for you, which is a Colored Girls Museum question. So, Blue Kind, what has been keeping you at a time like this? Like, what artifact would you enter into this museum that has been significant to you at this time?
I try try to meditate every day in the morning, even if my meditation is just looking at nature and looking at plants. People that know me, I said I could just write about flowers and stare at plants all day. Like I'm a poet, so I could do that all day. But lately, I even just this whole time, I've been sitting outside on my stoop, and there's been butterflies, so many butterflies, that are come and visit, all different kinds of butterflies that come and visit this little bush, and bees. So I would definitely be a butterfly. Um, and I just wrote a poem about it today. It's I forgot it exactly, but it was about being free and being wisped, you know, under the air and over the air, and being connected and taking the sweetness out of life. Just what's there that's sweet and really being present in that. So I just watch the butterflies like every day, and I wisp with it, and so that would be my anchor, definitely. Yeah. What would be yours?
Oh, wow. I didn't enter into anything when I curated because it was sort of like not wanting to do the project because it wasn't
some resistance. Yeah.
Just like resist. And while there are sort of any number of things, honestly, it would be one of the dolls. Yeah, I was the only girl, and I had one standing black doll when they first started making black dolls. I used to stand by my baby carriage, and when I left home, my aunt took that doll, and there was something about being the only girl and never really having that time, having that girlhood time with a doll that has stayed with me as a grown ass woman. So the artifact in this museum, are the dolls. And there are several, and when I go someplace, like when I went to South Africa, I came back with, I didn't name her. I forget who named her. Was it Ian? He might have named her. My little Joburg doll. Just like being able to hold them just brings up that girl in me. And so, and that girl, she was fast, she was shy, but she was also audacious. So when I have a doll in my arms, like that's where I go. So I would enter one of these dolls into any room that I was going into because, my girl self is in many ways my best self. So those dolls activate her.
That's beautiful. I'm the only girl. You.
Hi, Elanish.
The only girl.
I was just gonna say we did get a couple questions from the audience.
Oh, okay.
The first one is, courage came up in last week's discussion. Where or what do you draw from to gain the courage to do the work that you do? Or what gives you courage when you started your initiatives?
Well, I think I started, I just had a vision when I was in college. I went to school at University of the Arts for 2 years. And I came up from Virginia, you know, kind of loan sharked up here to Philly because I knew I was supposed to be here for some reason. This vision literally left college to open up a shop. And I think, and it was crazy. I had no money. I have no inheritance. I have nothing. I had, I don't know. I didn't even have a name for it. I just told all my teachers, sorry, dude, this is what I got to do. And it was so real to me. But I also think I had death at a young age. My mom, she passed away when I was 14. And I think when I went through that process of death early, especially of somebody I love so much, it really propelled me, kind of, there's some to a fault, but really propelled me to act and be my fullest self 100% all the time. So I got really busy. I think I was like avoiding emotional spaces, obviously. But I just got really like connected of where I need to go, what's next. So I think that connection, even my mom, even today, I feel like she's here with me. And she has really propelled me to keep going. But that's my answer, Vashti.
That's a really interesting question because I don't, I don't remember thinking about being courageous or not being courageous. My life has been such that, I imagine a thing and then I start doing a thing. And I would say, and there's a book by this name, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. If I'm honest, I would say that I'm scared most of the time. I lack courage most of the time, which would really, I think I have a lot of friends who would say that is an absolute lie. But, it's not. I left home when I was really young, or my mother put me out when I was really young, and I really became accustomed to being afraid. But I did learn how to act as though it wasn't going to kill me, to be afraid, to not have courage. And one would think that the more that you do, the more you develop a spirit of courage. It has not necessarily been the case for me. I just continue to do because there are things that need to be done, or there are things that I want to do more than I want to be afraid. But I'm not, interestingly enough, I believe I'm possibly brave, but I do make a distinction between being courageous and being brave. I think of brave as sort of a more static position, and courageous is something that you're constantly, building into. And that is not what I do. It's not. I actually, working from the place of afraid and fear, it's on the top of my soul. It's always there.
Gotcha. And then the second one we had, and I also had a similar question, is, as nurturers and healers and lovers, how do you stay grounded and centered in a time where there's so much need for light and love everywhere? So how are you staying grounded in this time as caregivers, as nurturers, in all that capacity?
Yeah, kind of like with courage, I'm just not always. I am whatever I am, when I show up. I'm not always grounded, and I do the best that I can to be available to the fact that I'm not feeling grounded. I'm not always centered, mostly not centered in this time. In fact, I think probably the most important thing that I am able to do is to be fluid, and really encourage myself to be present, so that I know what I'm feeling, quite frankly. And, you know, occasionally I actually do remember to ask myself, what do you need right now? Like in the middle of a shitstorm, I can, you know, I do keep that question close at hand. And sometimes there's like a really reasonable and smart answer, like, oh, you need food.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you need a nap.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you need to take a walk. And sometimes, you know, the answer is not, you know, so clear. You know, I try not to cheat and default to I don't know as much as possible. So that's my answer, not answer.
Yeah, I remember when everything was happening. I listen. You know, I feel like I sit and I listen. I think I'm getting more into sitting in silence and meditating and connecting. Like I'm doing it more often now than I've ever done it before. But even in like within my tribe, you know, I have 15 employees, and when everything was happening, you know, there was a lot of anxiety and fear and everything. And I was like, I need to keep speaking life and connection. But then I go home and I live like a hermit, y'all. Like I might come out to everybody and I can talk to everybody and like da 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 da. But when I come home, it's me and my kids. I do the laundry. I feed good food. We play cards. We live simply. I work from home. A lot of it, you know, but I stare at flowers. Like then I come out and do ba-da-da-da-da-da. So I think it's that. It can be totally exhausting. And some people, I feel like, even in my tribe, they're like, are you even human? Do you even feel? And I'm like, dude, this is my process. Like, I'm not, do you want me to lead with anxiety and frustration and fear? I'm not going to lead that way. And I do feel very connected as I am looked at as a leader. I'm with my community. I'm with my children. Like, I take where I am and who I am very seriously. And so I'm going to take it slowly. I'm going to listen. I love that. Like, listen to myself and what I need and be honest. And some days I'm not going to be perfect, you know, and I expect y'all to be lifting me up. Like, I can't keep lifting everybody up all the time. But I think as much as we're connected to that humanness, that's how we lead. I came in the porch one day. I was so mad. I was late. I was doing all this stuff. And one of the staff, she looked at me and she just said, "Hi, Blue." And I just cried. I just cried. And because I was so taken back by her sweetness to me. You know, I was beating myself up for all this stuff and getting in. And she was like, "I'm just happy you're here." And I'm like, "See, you lifted me up today. Thank you." You know, she had no idea. She had no idea. But yeah, I just think it fluctuates. But I do think those grounding practices are so essential. Like writing, meditating, just looking out in nature, looking at beautiful things and knowing that you are that beautiful thing as well. You know, touching yourself, you know, like loving yourself. Yeah, I just think all of those practices are so necessary and being honest. But yeah, that's how I've been vibing.
I totally agree. And I always want to say, I think this Black women we expect so much of ourselves. And I think that others come to expect so much of us that we don't know where one part begins and the other ends. And so that's why, you know, for myself, you know, I can drive and I can drive really hard a really long time. So I think it's really important for me, you know, to be okay with like a spirit of not knowing, you know, a spirit of not being okay. Because you're never wherever you are forever. You're always evolving into the next moment.
Everything's temporary. That's why everything's temporary. Yeah. Any more, Lanice?
Nope, that was the last one we had in the chat.
All right.
And yeah, we're coming up on 7, so that's perfect.
All right. Well, I guess my I wrote down what you said in the beginning because the visual was just beautiful. The visual of opening up the window when people couldn't come inside, just that thing. And hoping that we can all take that visual with us. You know, sometimes you can't open the door, but a window's good, like metaphorically or really. So thank you, Laurel, for opening up.
Yeah, thank you both. Yes, I love that, opening the window. Yes. So thank you both for sharing, and for everybody who joined us here today. Does anybody want to say anything from the audience, or are we good?
Thank you.
People are saying something, but they're on mute.
Oh,
See, Lenny is saying something, and Jerry.
Thank you. Good night.
Okay.
you.
Bye, Alba. Good to see you. I hear you.
Nice seeing you. Nice meeting you all.
Yes.
Ooh, nice artist to you. I want to go there. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay. Well, thank you, everyone.
Hi, Laurel.
Hi, Mona. How are you?
I'm good.
So nice to see you.
Thanks. Take care, everyone.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
Peace and blessings.